Ladies and gentlemen, there are days when everything feels too much, days when the weight of the world seems to press against you, threatening to crush everything you've built. And in those moments you feel like giving up, you feel tired, you feel worn out, you feel like your spirit is being tested beyond its limit. But here's something I want you to understand today. God knows that you are tired. He sees the quiet struggles you're facing, the ones no one else knows about. And He knows the depth of your exhaustion. But this isn't about just acknowledging the weight you're carrying. No, this is about understanding the strength that lies within you, even when you feel like you have nothing left to give. Because sometimes, when you feel most drained, that is when your greatest breakthrough is just around the corner. You see, fatigue isn't just a physical thing. It's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. It's the crushing realization that you're pouring everything you have into something, but the return on that effort is nowhere to be found. You show up every single day, trying to push through, trying to keep going, even though all you want to do is stop. And yet, you don't. You keep going. Maybe it's for your family. Maybe it's for your dreams. Maybe it's just because you've gotten this far and you can't bear the thought of giving up now. But even though you keep moving forward, the exhaustion builds up. It feels like you're running on fumes. Your body aches. Your mind is constantly racing. Your soul longs for peace, for rest. But God knows that you are tired. He knows that you are weary. He knows that there are days when your heart feels like it's about to break from the burden you're carrying. And He's not asking you to push yourself past the point of no return. He's not asking you to keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. He's not asking you to keep moving when your legs can no longer carry you. What He's asking you to do, what I want you to understand right now, is that it's okay to rest. It's okay to acknowledge the exhaustion. It's okay to let go for a moment. Because in that rest, in that pause, you will find the strength you need to keep going. But let's not get it twisted. Rest is not about giving up. Rest is about giving yourself the chance to come back stronger. You can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot keep giving and giving without taking the time to refill your own well. It's okay to stop for a moment. It's okay to sit down, breathe, and recharge. You will never be able to continue at the pace you don't lose your drive by taking a moment to take care of yourself. In fact, that moment is what will propel you forward when you get up again. Understand that sometimes the hardest thing to do is to accept that you are not invincible. It's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to acknowledge that you're struggling. It's okay to let the people around you see your vulnerability. They won't think less of you for it. If anything, they will respect your courage for showing them the real, raw truth of who you are. But there's also something else I want you to consider. Every single time you think about stopping, every time you feel like you just can't take another step, you have to remind yourself of one simple truth. You have already survived 100% of your worst days. Think about that for a second. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every obstacle, every setback that has come your way, you've made it through. You're still here, still standing, still fighting. And that resilience, that inner strength, is something you cannot underestimate. You may not see it right now, but there is a warrior inside of you that has already faced battles you didn't think you could survive. And that warrior hasn't given up on you. In fact, that warrior is calling you to stand tall once more, to gather your strength and to keep moving forward. But let's be real, it's not always easy to keep going. Sometimes it feels like there is no end in sight. Sometimes the future seems uncertain and the path ahead is unclear. And when you look around, it feels like everyone else is thriving while you're struggling to hold on. But I promise you this, you are not alone in this journey. No one is immune to the hardships of life. Everyone has their battles. Some are just better at hiding them than others. The important thing is that you keep fighting for yourself, even on the days when it feels like everything is falling apart. Because here's what you might not realize: you are stronger than you think. Your capacity for perseverance is far beyond what you give yourself credit for. You are capable of pushing through when the odds are stacked against you. And when you feel like you can't take another step, remember that you've made it through so many moments when you didn't think you could go on. That's your proof. That's your evidence that you have the strength to keep moving forward. You don't need to see the end of the tunnel to know that you'll get there eventually. Sometimes all you need is the courage to take one more step, one more day, one more breath. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. To trust yourself, to trust your resilience, and to keep going even when it feels like there's no way forward. And I want to make this clear: it's not about perfection. It's not about getting it all right. It's about progress. Every small step counts. Every ounce of effort you put in, no matter how small, is a victory. Even on your hardest days, when you feel the most tired, the most defeated, you are still moving forward. Even if you don't see it right now. God knows that you are tired, and He doesn't expect you to carry that weight alone. You are not meant to bear all the burdens of life by yourself. Reach out for help when you need it. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, who remind you of your worth when you forget it yourself. Your community, your family, your friends, they are here to support you, to help you carry the load when it gets too heavy. But most importantly, you need to trust in yourself. Because you are capable of more than you know. You are stronger than you think. And you will get through this no matter how heavy it feels. As you go forward, remember this: you have already made it through your darkest moments. You have fought battles and survived. You have learned lessons in ways you didn't expect. And every moment of exhaustion, every second of doubt, will make your success even sweeter when you finally get there. The journey isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. Every day that you wake up and keep fighting is a day that you're one step closer to your breakthrough. Keep your head up, keep moving forward, and never forget that God knows that you are tired, but He also knows that you are capable of more than you can imagine. So keep going, one more step, one more day, one more breath. You're not done yet. There are moments in life when exhaustion seems all-encompassing, when the weight of everything you've been carrying suddenly feels too much to bear. It's as if you're trapped in a constant cycle of giving, doing, and pushing forward, but the energy to continue feels like it's slipping away. Physically, mentally, emotionally, you feel drained, and each day seems like a repeat of the last. The exhaustion is no longer just a physical state. It's a pervasive sense that you've given all you have, but no matter how much you push, you can't seem to get ahead. The problem isn't just fatigue, it's the overwhelming sense that you've been running on empty for far too long. Exhaustion in this sense isn't only about physical tiredness. It's about feeling mentally and emotionally worn down by life's constant demands. You wake up in the morning already dreading the day ahead, not because you lack the strength to get through it, but because it feels like you're stuck in an endless loop. You push yourself to keep going, to get through one more task, one more obstacle, one more challenge. But in doing so, you start to feel like you're losing sight of yourself. It becomes harder to find the motivation to keep moving forward when everything you've been working toward feels like it's slipping further out of reach. It's the kind of exhaustion that sneaks up on you, creeping into your thoughts and actions in ways you don't even recognize at first. At first, it's just a lack of energy, a feeling of sluggishness that you can push through, but as time goes on, it becomes something deeper. You begin to question whether what you're doing is worth the sacrifice. You wonder if your efforts are in vain. It's not just about being tired, it's the emotional toll that constant striving takes on your spirit. You begin to feel disconnected from your own sense of purpose and wonder whether you're truly on the right path. You may even find yourself in moments of isolation. Despite being surrounded by people, it feels like no one truly understands what you're going through. There's a quiet loneliness that comes with this type of exhaustion, a feeling that no one sees the weight you're carrying. You may have a strong support system, but the burden of carrying so much on your own shoulders is something only you can fully comprehend. You tell yourself you'll keep going because there's no other choice, but deep down, you're yearning for relief, for a break, just a moment to catch your breath. The difficulty is that this kind of exhaustion isn't always visible to others. On the outside, you may appear to be functioning, to be going through the motions like everyone else. You show up, you perform, you do what needs to be done, but inside, you're running on fumes, barely holding it all together. It's a silent struggle. There are no visible signs of wear on the outside, so people around you may not realize how much it's taking to keep moving forward. This only adds to the frustration. You want to tell someone how you feel, but you don't want to burden them with your tiredness. So you keep it inside, pushing yourself harder, masking the fatigue with a smile and the facade that everything is okay. This kind of exhaustion can also erode your confidence over time. When you're constantly fighting to stay afloat, you start to question your ability to succeed. You wonder if you're truly capable, or if maybe you've been fooling yourself all along. The mental exhaustion of second-guessing yourself day after day starts to eat away at your self-esteem. You wonder if you're good enough, if you're doing enough, or if you'll ever reach the place you're striving for. The fatigue becomes intertwined with doubt, creating a loop that feels impossible to break. The truth is, fatigue can be all-consuming if you let it. It can slowly drain your joy, your motivation, and your sense of fulfillment. The longer you ignore it, the more it takes. And yet, in the midst of this, it's important to remember that exhaustion is a natural part of the human experience. It's a sign that your body and mind need rest, and it's a signal that something needs to change. Ignoring that signal and pushing through without relief can lead to burnout, making it even harder to function at your best in the long run. The journey through exhaustion doesn't have to be one of suffering alone. Acknowledging the weight you're carrying is the first step toward understanding how to manage it. It's easy to feel like you need to be constantly on, constantly moving, and constantly doing. But in reality, you have to recognize that rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Just as we need sleep to recover physically, our minds and spirits need moments of peace to recharge. That rest doesn't mean giving up. It means giving yourself the time and space to heal. It means taking a step back to regain clarity, to rediscover your purpose, and to remind yourself that you are worthy of care, just as much as you give care to others. While the world encourages us to keep going no matter what, it's crucial to remember that exhaustion is not a weakness, it's a sign that you are human. It doesn't make you any less strong or capable to acknowledge that you are tired. Recognizing it is the first step toward moving forward in a healthier, more sustainable way. There's a quiet kind of struggle that many face, one that is often kept hidden from the world. It's the battle that takes place within, a fight that others may never see. This is the kind of struggle that doesn't come with visible scars or obvious signs of pain, but is just as real and exhausting as any physical ailment. It's the silent burden that you carry every day, the emotional weight of feeling like you're constantly fighting a battle alone, and the crushing loneliness that comes from believing no one truly understands what you're going through. It's often in these moments, when the world around you seems bright and people appear to have it all together, that you feel the most isolated, as though you are trudging through life with a heavy heart and no one to turn to. This feeling of silent struggle is not unique to any one person. It's a universal experience. Every person, no matter how confident or put together they may appear, has something they are working through. The problem is we often don't talk about it. We don't want to burden others with our issues or make ourselves vulnerable, so we suffer in silence, and this isolation can make the struggle feel even more intense, as if we're trapped in our own minds with no one to share the weight. One of the reasons we keep these struggles to ourselves is the pressure to maintain a facade of strength. There's an expectation in society that we should be able to handle whatever comes our way without complaint. We're taught to push through difficulties, to appear strong and capable, even when we're falling apart inside. The fear of being judged or seen as weak can be overwhelming. It's easier to put on a mask to show the world that we have it all together than to reveal the raw, unfiltered truth of how we're really feeling. We tell ourselves that others are busy with their own lives, that no one wants to hear our problems, or that asking for help is a sign of failure. So we keep it to ourselves, carrying the emotional burden quietly and letting it consume us from the inside out. The reality is, everyone is struggling with something. It may not be the same as what you're facing, but everyone has their own battles. This is where the sense of loneliness can become even more powerful. It feels like you're the only one in the world dealing with such heavy emotions, the only one who's burdened by invisible weight. The truth is, no one is truly alone in their struggles. The people you pass on the street, the ones you work with, the friends you meet up with, they all have something they're carrying. We don't see it because we're so focused on our own internal battles, and because more often than not, others are doing the same thing as you, keeping their struggles to themselves. The challenge lies in breaking down the walls that we've built around our pain and allowing ourselves to be seen for who we truly are. There's a certain kind of courage in opening up about the internal battles we face. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, when you reach out and admit that you're struggling, you may find that others are more understanding than you ever expected. The walls we build around our struggles are often based on fear. Fear of being judged, fear of rejection, fear of appearing weak. But in truth, these fears are often unfounded. People who genuinely care about you will not see you as weak for sharing your vulnerabilities. In fact, they may appreciate your honesty, your willingness to show them the parts of yourself that you usually hide. There is strength in being able to say, "I need help," or "I'm not okay today." It's not a sign of weakness, it's a demonstration of self-awareness and the desire to heal. Yet, even when we do open up, it doesn't always mean that others will fully understand the depth of what we're going through. Sometimes, even the people closest to us may not be able to comprehend the emotional toll we are experiencing. They may offer advice or reassurance, but it can feel disconnected from the reality of your situation. And that too can deepen the sense of isolation. It's not that they don't care, but the emotional complexity of the struggle can sometimes be too much for anyone to fully grasp unless they've experienced it themselves. This is where the internal battle intensifies, when you're surrounded by support, but still feel profoundly alone in your struggle. This is why it's so important to find ways to cope with the silent struggles in a healthy way. Keeping everything bottled up inside, pretending like it doesn't affect you, only leads to further isolation and emotional deterioration. The weight of unspoken pain is too heavy to carry forever. While it's normal to want to protect others from your struggles, it's also crucial to find safe spaces where you can express yourself without judgment. Therapy, support groups, and close friends who are willing to listen can be a lifeline in these moments of silent suffering. Sometimes just knowing that someone else is there, that someone else is listening, can ease the burden in ways that words alone can't describe. The silent struggles we face are often the hardest to overcome because they are the most hidden. They exist in the quiet moments, in the thoughts that swirl around in our minds, in the emotions we suppress because we don't want to be seen as weak or burden someone else with our pain. But we must remember that these struggles are not a sign of failure. They are a part of being human. It's okay to not have everything figured out. It's okay to not always be strong. It's okay to feel tired, confused, and unsure. You don't have to carry that weight alone. Sharing your struggles, even in small ways, is the first step toward healing, toward finding the support and understanding that you need to move forward. And remember, you are not alone in feeling this way. Everyone, in some form, is fighting a silent battle. There are moments in life when everything seems to be falling apart. You face challenges that feel insurmountable, obstacles that appear to have no solution, and sometimes it feels as if the universe itself is conspiring against your every effort. In those moments, when you're tired, frustrated, and disillusioned, there's a powerful truth that often gets lost in the chaos. Perseverance is a force that can carry you through even the darkest times. Perseverance isn't about never feeling overwhelmed or discouraged. It's about finding the strength to keep going even when you feel like giving up. It's a quiet resilience that isn't flashy or dramatic. It's often invisible to the outside world, yet it's one of the most powerful forces within you. It's the inner strength that pushes you forward when every fiber of your being wants to retreat. The most important thing to understand about perseverance is that it doesn't always come easily. In fact, perseverance is often forged in the crucible of hardship. It's born not out of ease, but from a place of struggle, challenge, and adversity. It's about continuing to move forward, even when the path ahead seems unclear, and even when every step forward feels like it costs more than the last. When you face difficulties, it can often feel as though your efforts aren't making any difference. You try and try again, but the progress seems slow or perhaps non-existent. It's in these moments that perseverance is the most critical, because it's easy to let frustration and doubt take over. However, it's important to realize that perseverance doesn't require immediate results. It doesn't mean you must see the rewards of your efforts right away. In fact, it's often the long periods of unseen work, the behind-the-scenes effort that no one notices, where perseverance truly shows its value. It's easy to quit when you don't see immediate progress, or when the results don't match the work you've put in. But perseverance teaches you that the work itself is just as important as the outcome. It's about trust. The trust that every step you take, even the ones that feel like small or insignificant efforts, are building something more meaningful than you can see in the moment. The great challenge of perseverance is learning to maintain hope when everything around you suggests it might be time to quit. It's about continuing to show up every day, even when you feel like the situation is beyond your control or ability. And yes, it's going to be hard. There will be days when the fatigue feels unbearable, when the fear of failure looms large, and when your self-doubt becomes overwhelming. But each of those moments is an opportunity for you to strengthen your resilience, to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you initially thought. As you continue to persevere, you begin to notice a shift within yourself. The setbacks that once felt like insurmountable roadblocks start to look like temporary hurdles. The failures you once viewed as the end of the road transform into learning experiences that teach you valuable lessons. The critical factor in this transformation is time. The understanding that persistence over time will build results that patience alone can't provide. You begin to trust the process. You realize that each failure, each setback, is part of the journey, not an indication that you're on the wrong path. It's also important to acknowledge that perseverance doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. There is strength in leaning on others, whether that's through seeking advice, asking for help, or simply allowing yourself to be supported. Sometimes, in our desire to persevere, we push ourselves to the point of exhaustion, believing that we must endure everything on our own. But real perseverance often comes from knowing when to reach out, when to seek guidance, and when to give yourself permission to rely on others. It's about finding balance, understanding that persistence doesn't mean carrying the weight of the world by yourself. It's about recognizing that sometimes perseverance means knowing when to ask for help, to receive support, and to trust that you don't have to face every challenge alone. As you push through adversity, perseverance will also show you just how strong you really are. The limits you once believed you had are often far more flexible than you think. When you push beyond your comfort zone, you learn new things about yourself. You discover reservoirs of strength and resilience you didn't know existed. Over time, perseverance can help you build mental and emotional muscles that make you better equipped to handle future challenges. Another aspect of perseverance is learning to accept the fact that there will be setbacks. It's unrealistic to expect that you'll always make progress without any hiccups along the way. Life has a way of testing your resolve, throwing curveballs at the most inopportune moments. But perseverance is about finding a way to keep going, even when it feels like you're moving backward. Every time you fall, every time you face a setback, perseverance reminds you that you have the ability to get back up, to adjust your approach, and to continue moving forward. It's not about perfection, it's about resilience. It's about knowing that the end result is worth the effort, even when it doesn't seem that way in the middle of the struggle. Ultimately, perseverance is a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure. It's not always glamorous or easy, but it's powerful. It's the quiet determination that allows you to keep moving even when the road is tough and the end goal feels far away. It's the belief that with every step you take, no matter how small, you're getting closer to where you need to be. The power of perseverance lies in its ability to push you through the toughest times, to help you overcome your doubts and fears, and to remind you that no matter how difficult life becomes, you are capable of seeing things through. And in the end, it's that very perseverance that will carry you to the finish line. There are times in life when the weight of our circumstances makes us feel as though we are on the verge of breaking. In those moments, it's easy to question everything, our choices, our path, and even our worth. We can be consumed by frustration and self-doubt, feeling as though nothing we do seems to be working or moving us forward. Yet in these difficult times, there's a critical truth that can often be hard to see, but is crucial to remember. Your worth is not defined by your struggles or your setbacks. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that your value as a person is somehow tied to the success you achieve, the accomplishments you amass, or the hurdles you overcome. We live in a world that constantly reinforces the idea that success is what defines us, that your worth is measured by what you have or what you can do. The constant comparison to others, the societal pressure to excel, and the never-ending pursuit of perfection can all contribute to the belief that if we're not achieving what we expect of ourselves or what others expect, then we somehow fall short. But this is where a critical shift in perspective must occur. Your true worth isn't based on your external achievements or even your ability to meet certain expectations. It is intrinsic, rooted in your humanity, your inherent value as a person. This idea is often lost in the rush to perform, to succeed, and to prove ourselves. We live in a world that can sometimes define us by our successes or failures, by the moments when we triumph or when we fall short, but that is an incomplete and flawed measure of who we are. You are not defined by the number of things you get right or the many obstacles you've had to face. The world can be harsh in its judgment, but your true value lies beyond those external markers. When we get caught up in the relentless pursuit of success, it becomes easy to forget that our worth is not determined by whether we win or lose, achieve or fail. Each one of us has an inherent value that exists regardless of what we accomplish or how many obstacles we overcome, and yet so many of us fall into the trap of measuring our self-worth by how well we do in life's race, by how others perceive us, and by the achievements we accumulate. The belief that our worth is only found in success leads to a dangerous cycle of never feeling good enough. When we constantly tie our value to external achievements, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. No one can achieve perfection all the time, and failure is an unavoidable part of life. When we fail, and then believe that failure reflects our worth, we internalize that failure and allow it to define us. But this is not the truth. Failing doesn't make you a failure. Struggling doesn't make you weak. Your worth is not contingent on any of those things. The hardest part about this is learning to unlearn the toxic beliefs that we've absorbed over time. From a young age, we are taught to associate success with value and failure with worthlessness. We grow up believing that to be worthy of love, respect, and admiration, we must always perform well. And when we don't, when we fall short or make mistakes, we internalize that as a reflection of who we are. This conditioning is difficult to overcome, but it's essential for our emotional well-being. True worth comes from understanding that we are enough simply because we exist, because we are human, and because we are deserving of love and respect, regardless of what we achieve. It's the recognition that we don't need to prove anything to anyone in order to be valuable. The pressure to achieve, to meet expectations, and to be successful can weigh us down. But we must learn to take a step back and realize that we are already worthy, already whole, and already valuable, even in our moments of struggle or defeat. Understanding that your worth is not contingent upon success also frees you from the pressure to always perform. When you stop tying your value to your achievements, you can start to appreciate the process instead of only focusing on the outcome. You can begin to find joy in the journey, in the lessons learned from setbacks, and in the growth that comes from failure. Every challenge, every struggle, and every mistake is an opportunity for learning, not a reflection of your personal worth. Your worth doesn't change based on what you can or cannot do, and it certainly isn't diminished when things don't go as planned. You are valuable, worthy, and enough as you are right now, in this very moment, regardless of where you are in your journey. The setbacks you face, the mistakes you make, and the obstacles you encounter do not define you. What defines you is your ability to persist, to continue forward despite the odds, and to embrace your own intrinsic value. When you realize that your worth is not tied to what you accomplish, the weight of failure becomes easier to bear. You are not a failure. You are a person who is learning, growing, and evolving. Remember that your worth is inherent and constant. You do not have to prove anything to anyone. You are valuable simply because you are. Your worth is not tied to success, nor is it determined by how others perceive you. It exists regardless of your performance or your mistakes. Understanding this fundamental truth is what allows you to approach life with a sense of peace and freedom, knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness simply because you exist. As we reach the end of this journey together, it's important to remember the core truth that runs through every word shared today. No matter how tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed you may feel, you are not alone. Life will continue to challenge you to test your strength and your perseverance, but it is through these very trials that you will discover the depth of your own resilience. Your worth is not defined by the obstacles you face, the setbacks you encounter, or the times you've stumbled. Your value lies in who you are, the strength you carry inside, and your ability to keep moving forward even when the path seems unclear. Embrace the struggles, learn from the hardships, and never forget that your worth is inherent and constant, regardless of what happens along the way. Perseverance isn't just about pushing through. It's about acknowledging your pain, respecting your journey, and understanding that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory in itself. So, as you go forward, hold your head high, knowing that you are worthy of success, peace, and happiness, no matter where you are right now. Life may not always be easy, but it is yours to shape, and with each new day, you are one step closer to the strength and success you desire. Good luck on your journey. I have no doubt that you will continue to rise, to overcome, and to shine. Thank you for taking the time to listen, reflect, and grow. Stay strong, stay persistent, and always remember, you are enough.